Deep within the heart of a forgotten realm, a magician carefully raises an ancient stone and secures it onto the tip of his scepter. He begins an ancient ritual with slow, deliberate motions, murmuring incantations that stir the silence. Shadows curl and move around as dark spirits gather, drawn to the scepter like moths to flame. As he lowers it to the ground, a strange energy pulses outward, sinking into the earth and racing through the mountains. The land begins to tremble, and as the air grows thick with magic, the towering mountains groan and shift, twisting into something darker, something alive, and something utterly sinister. In the beginning of the story, Victor sat in the back seat of the car, watching the road ahead. His parents were talking when suddenly, another car swerved into their lane. His father jerked the wheel, but it was too late. The car crashed through the barrier and plunged off the bridge, straight into the cold, dark river. Years later, Victor jolted awake from a nightmare. That same accident haunted him every night. His mother entered and said his friend, Fred, was calling, but he didn't respond. She sat beside him and reminded him about the hiking trip, his only chance to see the solar eclipse from the mountains. She knew he feared heights, but gently encouraged him to go. Meanwhile, long ago in a different time, the shaman stood before a fire, chanting. He begged the ancient spirits to help him find a powerful stone. With it, he could control the entire world. Back in the present, Victor and his classmates hiked through the forest, climbing higher into the mountains. The path led them to a long suspension bridge swaying over a deep canyon. One by one, the kids went across. Victor's turn came. His hands shook. He stepped forward, but fear gripped him. Fred cheered him on, but it didn't help. He forced himself to take a step, then another. But then he glanced down. The dizzying drop made his stomach twist. Suddenly, his foot slipped. Fred lunged forward and caught him just in time, pulling him back. But the others laughed. Someone pointed at his pants because his water bottle had spilled, leaving a dark stain. Embarrassed, Victor ran into the trees. Fred chased after him, catching up near a massive rock. Fred tried to cheer him up. At that moment, something caught their attention in the sky. The eclipse had already begun, but something was wrong. The ground trembled beneath them. Rocks cracked. The cliff under Fred's feet gave way, and he slipped. He grabbed the edge, struggling to hold on. He shouted for Victor, but Victor froze. His legs wouldn't move. Fear gripped him. Then, behind him, the rock split open. A swirling hole appeared. Before Victor could react, a powerful force yanked him backward. He tumbled into the portal and disappeared. Victor woke up on the cold ground. The rock behind him was shifting, the strange hole closing. His heart raced. Then, a voice echoed nearby. He peeked out from behind a large boulder. A man in ancient armor stood alone, holding a bouquet of flowers, speaking softly to himself. But before Victor could move, a group of warriors appeared. The armored man fought them off, moving swiftly, knocking them down one by one. It seemed like he would win. But then, another warrior attacked from behind. Swords clashed. The fight was brutal. In the end, the man was outnumbered. The enemy warriors surrounded him, their weapons raised. Victor crept forward, but his foot slipped. He tumbled down, crashing into the ground. At the same moment, a loud siren blared from his backpack. His megaphone had turned on. The warriors snapped their heads toward him. Their leader ordered to capture the boy. Before they could reach him, the fallen warrior, now on horseback, snatched Victor up and galloped away. But the warriors gave chase. They heard the loud sound of horses running behind them. As they raced toward a river, the warriors shouted to the river for help. Suddenly, stones rose from beneath the surface, forming a path. Without hesitating, the horse leaped onto the stones and sprinted across. As soon as they reached the other side, the path crumbled. The chasing warriors plunged into the water, swept away by the current. Victor and his rescuer reached an outpost. Two men stood waiting, Elder Otto and a warrior named Ilya. They looked angry. The warrior explained that he had seen enemy warriors trampling flowers near the cliffs. He attacked in rage, but their leader, Khan Andak, arrived. If not for Victor's distraction, he might not have escaped. One of the men grabbed a bucket and dumped ice-cold water over Victor's head. Victor gasped, shivering. He wiped his face and looked around. These were not his friends. They were strangers. The villagers did not trust him. He seemed like the enemy's spy. The elder made a decision. At sunrise, they would take him to the river to test the truth. Until then, they locked him inside a dark shed. That night, Khan Andak visited the shaman. The spirits had told them where the Roman warrior would be, but the plan had failed because a strange boy had interfered. When Khan mentioned the boy, the shaman asked if he had a dragon symbol. Khan remembered seeing that symbol on the boy's back. The shaman smiled. This boy was the one he had been waiting for. The spirits had sent their chosen messenger. With him, they could gain endless power. Meanwhile, Victor sat in the dark shed, trying to make sense of everything. A girl came by and handed him some milk. He tried to ask where he was, but she didn't understand much. She only said he was in Rymiv's outpost, a place that protected villagers from the evil warriors who had earlier chased him. Victor then asked what year it was. She said 1120 AD. He froze, thinking, this can't be real. Soon after, the young man from before arrived and thanked Victor for helping. Victor said he needed to go home, but the man told him not to worry. Tomorrow, the river would test him. Then he could go. The next day, they tied Victor to a raft and pushed it into the river. But the ropes suddenly snapped. The raft broke apart. Victor sank into the cold water. Down there, he saw a strange glowing creature. Then, without warning, something threw him hard back onto the riverbank. Back at the outpost, the men returned Victor's backpack. They all sat around a table and introduced themselves: Ilya, Dobrynya, and Oleshko. The elder asked what really happened. Victor said he was from the future and had fallen through a hole in a cliff. But no one believed him. They thought he had hit his head. To prove it, Victor pulled out his megaphone and turned it on. A loud noise blasted through the air. Everyone jumped in fear and scattered. But it worked. The men now believed him. Elder Otto promised to help find a way back home. Until then, Ilya said Victor could stay with his sister Melania. Oleshko quickly offered to take him there. When they reached the house, Oleshko handed Victor to Melania. Then he waved her daughter Rosanka over. He was amazed by her beauty and had a hidden bouquet to give her. But a horse had already eaten them. Rosanka saw the chewed-up stem and walked away without a word. That evening, as the sky turned dark and the fire cracked, Ilya, Dobrynya, and Oleshko sat around the table. They shared food and laughter. Just then, Victor came out to join them. The elder spoke. He had gone to the river again. The river said that during a solar eclipse, the strange hole might open once more. But no one knew when the next eclipse would happen. The river also said the portal could be forced open, but only powerful sorcerers knew how to do it. Therefore, they had to find these sorcerers. Oleshko quickly said that he knew a place where many sorcerers lived. But Ilya warned that it was too dangerous to leave Rymov. The whole area was crawling with Kuman warriors. The next morning, Victor walked around the outpost with his camera and took pictures. He ran into Oleshko and begged him to take him to the sorcerers. Oleshko agreed to show the way, but said the boy would not get answers easily. To earn help from a sorcerer, one had to pass 3 tests: with a sword, with a bow, and with clever thinking. Victor said he wanted to try. So Oleshko began with horse riding. But just as Victor was about to get on the horse, someone grabbed him from behind. He turned and saw Tugarin, the Kuman they had captured earlier. Victor quickly pushed his hand away. The next day, Victor's training began. He learned to swing his sword, shoot arrows, and ride a horse. Olenka, a girl from the outpost, watched them every day from a distance. One afternoon, after training, Oleshko showed Victor a giant sword. It once belonged to Ilya Muromets. Victor's eyes lit up. He asked if Dobrynya was really Dobrynya Nikitic. That was when he realized the truth. He was being trained by 3 legendary heroes from the old stories: Ilya Muromets, Dobrynya Nikitic, and Oleshko Popovich. Excited, Victor told them that in the future, kids read about them in books and hear tales of their adventures. Over time, Victor grew skilled with the sword and bow. Finally, Oleshko drew a map showing where the sorcerers could be found. The shaman worked his dark magic, casting a spell on a raven and sending it to spy. Meanwhile, Victor set off on his journey. A rustling sound made him freeze. He hid behind a tree, gripping his bow. Peeking out, he saw Olenka, who was gathering mushrooms. She was surprised to see him. He quickly explained his search for the sorcerer and his need to return home. He showed her the map, hoping she recognized the place. Wanting to help, Olenka agreed to go with him. They finally reached the marked location, but the moment Victor stepped forward, everything changed. In a flash, he was no longer in the forest. He stood in the middle of a vast frozen ocean. A deep, commanding voice demanded to know who he was and why he had come. Victor begged for help, desperate to return home. The voice agreed, but only for a price. Victor had to reveal his deepest fear, and if he lied, he would be trapped there forever. Terrified, he admitted the truth: his fear of heights, the accident that haunted him, and how that fear had stopped him from saving his friend. The sorcerer accepted his confession and spoke of the Purin stone. It could travel through time, but finding it would not be easy. It lay where the wingless nest, and could only be seen when the wind was tamed. Its power would awaken when touched heart to heart. Victor returned and shared everything with Olenka. At once, she thought of Stork Village, where storks built nests without wings. They decided to go there. When they arrived, Victor noticed that many houses were built over the lake. Olenka explained that the villagers were kind and an old legend about their ancestors once guarding Th3 Str0ngHold. Suddenly, Victor had an idea. He built a small parachute and let the wind carry it. He and Olenka ran after it, watching as it guided them to a spot in the lake. Victor dove into the water. His hands closed around the Purin stone. Above, the enchanted raven had been watching everything. It flew off immediately, delivering the news to the shaman. A scream shattered the moment. Olenka turned, her face going pale. The Kumans were attacking the village. Warriors stormed through the streets, setting houses on fire and cutting down the villagers. Victor and Olenka hid as the chaos spread. At the watchtower, a guard spotted smoke rising in the distance. He raised the alarm. Within moments, Ilya, Dobrynya, and Oleshko gathered their men and rushed toward the burning village. The warriors split into two groups. Ilya and Dobrynya took one path, while Oleshko and the others took another. Almost immediately, they clashed with the Cumans. Victor watched in horror. Then he noticed something. An enemy was sneaking up behind the heroes. Without thinking, he grabbed a bow, took aim, and fired. Back at the outpost, the elder was furious. He scolded the children for leaving without permission. But the heroes stood up for Victor, saying he had to return home. The decision was made. At dawn, they would head to Grimcliff. The next night at the Cuman camp, Khan Andak learned that his soldiers had failed again. His anger burned. He stormed to the shaman, demanding results. The shaman, unfazed, promised there would be no more mistakes. He would bring the Purin stone himself. At dawn, Victor, the elder, and the heroes reached Grimcliff. They placed the stone into the ancient rock, expecting something to happen. But nothing did. The stone held no power. The elder studied the sky, deep in thought. Purin ruled the storm, so maybe a thunderstorm would awaken the stone. They had to wait. Returning to the outpost, Victor found Olenka upset. He went to the elder, asking if her punishment could be lifted. But something else caught his eye. On the table, blueprints for wings were spread out. He spotted a mistake and pointed it out immediately. The elder explained that he was designing gliders for the warriors, so they could drop the stone onto the Cumans from the sky. Victor offered to help. Later, as Victor and Olenka walked, she shared an old legend. Whoever found the Purin stone would either meet their true love or find someone lost. Hesitant but sincere, she admitted she thought he was special. Victor returned to the elder's workshop and continued working on the glider. Oleshko suddenly arrived. Ilya needed them immediately. When they met Ilya, the truth hit them hard. The Cumans had attacked Stork village on purpose. They had been searching for Victor and the Purin stone. The elder realized the artifact was in danger and decided to hide it again. But when they returned to the workshop, the stone was gone. They searched the entire room, panicking they lost it. Then Victor spotted Melania outside, cracking nuts. She was using the Purin stone. The elder quickly took it from her, deciding to hide it at the top of the watchtower. Victor hesitated. The tower was too high. His fear of heights paralyzed him, but the elder convinced him to climb. Step by step, he forced himself upward. At the top, his fear loosened its grip. He even dared to step near the edge, gazing at the vast landscape below. That evening, dark clouds gathered. The storm had arrived. While talking to Olenka, Victor noticed hailstones crashing down. His eyes flickered toward the prisoner's cage, Tugarin. Rain poured, cold and merciless. Feeling sorry for the man, Victor covered the cage with a canopy. Then it happened. A bolt of lightning struck the watchtower's peak. Stones shattered and tumbled down. One landed at the base of the prison. Tugarin seized his chance. He took the stone and escaped. Hours later, he staggered into the Cuman camp, gasping for breath. Khan Andak turned to see his brother, but his expression darkened. He ordered the guards to drag Tugarin out of his tent. Furious, Khan kicked aside his brother's belongings. The gods had abandoned him again. But then, the shaman noticed something. A fallen stone had tumbled from Tugarin's things. The one they were after all this time. At dawn, the elder discovered the Purin stone was missing. Tugarin had stolen it. Oleshko suggested sneaking into the Cuman camp at night to steal it back, but they had to finish the hang glider fast. Victor and Oleshko worked hard. The glider was nearly ready. Meanwhile, at the Cuman camp, Khan Andak raged. He demanded power from the shaman. But the shaman warned that the stone had no power on its own. Only the one who found it could awaken its magic. That afternoon, Olenka and Grandpa gathered supplies. Olenka stepped deeper into the forest, thinking of bringing berries for Victor. Cumans struck from the shadows. Olenka barely had time to react before they knocked her unconscious and threw her onto a horse. Grandpa rushed in, trying to stop them, but there were too many. A blade struck deep. The Cumans rode off with Olenka, leaving him behind. By nightfall, warriors found Grandpa and carried him back to the outpost. With his last breath, he made them promise to save Olenka. Then he was gone. Victor sat in silence, anger burning in his chest. A raven landed on the windowsill with a scrap of paper. It was a message from Olenka. There was no time to wait. Victor grabbed his gear and followed the bird. At the Cuman camp, he found Olenka. He tells her that Grandpa died. But before they could act, the shaman appeared, holding the Purin stone. He told Victor to awaken its power. Victor agreed, but only if they returned his backpack. As soon as he got it, fireworks and smoke bombs exploded. Flames and thick smoke swallowed the camp. Victor grabbed Olenka and ran. But Khan Andak was waiting. The children were captured again. The Khan gave Victor a choice: awaken the stone or watch Olenka die. Victor had no choice, but he demanded a promise that they would not be killed. Holding the Purin stone, Victor suddenly understood what to do. Olenka touched it too, and together, they unleashed its energy. The Khan grinned as he took the glowing stone. Then his face turned cold. He called for Tugarin and ordered him to kill the children. The shaman chanted, and the ground trembled. From the surrounding boulders and mountains, a mythical giant began to rise. Victor and Olenka were forced onto their knees. Tugarin lifted his sword, but then he hesitated. He remembered the hailstorm. The night Victor had sheltered him instead of letting him suffer. Then, at the last moment, he turned his blade and cut down the Khan's men instead. The soldiers fell in shock. Tugarin freed the children, and this was their chance to escape. The Khan was furious with his brother's betrayal, so he ended Tugarin's life. Meanwhile, on their journey back to the outpost, the friends ran into warriors who had been sent to rescue them. Together, they made their way home, where Victor told everyone about the terrifying creature the shaman had brought to life. Not long after, the sentry on the tower spotted a massive Kuman army approaching. He sounded the alarm, but the real danger was the stone giant, a golem created by the shaman. The defenders fought back, trying everything they had, but nothing could harm the creature. Therefore, the heroes had no choice but to order the women and children to hide. Oleshko had an idea. He jumped onto his horse and charged straight at the golem. He taunted it, making it furious, then led it toward the river. But just as the monster reached the water, the current pulled it under. The plan had worked. Rosanka ran to the river, desperate to know if Oleshko had survived. The warriors behind her shook their heads and told her he was gone. But at that moment, the boy broke through the surface. Rosanka, overjoyed, rushed to him and declared her love. Suddenly, Victor saw the sky darken. A solar eclipse had begun. Without hesitation, he left Rosanka and climbed to the highest tower. At the same time, the Kumans launched a brutal attack, breaking through the walls and forcing the defenders into battle. The warriors fought with everything they had and managed to drive the enemy out. But their relief didn't last. The shaman had brought the golem back to life. Victor had to act fast. He ran to the roof, grabbed the hang glider, and climbed to the very top of the tower. His heart pounded, but he stepped off the edge anyway, soaring through the air. The glider wobbled, but he held on and stabilized it. The shaman stood below, holding the magical stone that controlled the golem. Victor dived straight at him. With one swift move, he knocked the stone from the shaman's hands. Victor crash-landed on the rocks. But the Khan was already there, demanding the artifact. Victor didn't hesitate. He threw the stone into the water. Therefore, its magic vanished, and the golem collapsed. The Khan roared in anger and attacked. But Oleshko appeared just in time. After a quick fight, Oleshko pushed the Khan off the cliff. There was no time to celebrate. Victor had to reach the gloomy rock. Therefore, the heroes rushed there. As Victor prepared to leave, he heard Olenka's voice. She had come to say goodbye. Knowing this was the end, she kissed him. Victor stepped into the portal and vanished. He landed back in the present. Fred was hanging off a cliff. Victor grabbed his hand and pulled him up. Fred was shocked. He thought Victor was gone forever. Victor nodded. He had been scared too. But he told Fred everything. How he got pulled into a portal, survived the swamps, met warriors, fought the Kumans, destroyed a magical stone, and faced a golem. Fred listened wide-eyed. Behind them, their classmates clapped, amazed by Victor's courage. 1 year later, Victor's mom gave him an old book. Inside was a legend about the stone heart, a powerful relic. Victor had to find it. After a long journey, he did. When he touched it and whispered a name, something strange happened. 1,000 years earlier, Olenka touched the same stone. Therefore, a magical bond formed between them. Even though time separated them, they felt each other.